lately I've been feeling like I want to talk about and I want to record a video on everything and nothing at the same time. I guess that's just kind of like the struggle when you're coming back online. You know, you're trying to create content and you haven't had to do that in a couple months, okay? When I tell y'all, I started off this year like totally free of even like thinking about content creation and, oh, what am I gonna make my next video on, and oh, let me write down this idea that I have. Like none of that, okay? But now that we're here, there are a lot of things that I want to talk about, and I only have 3 videos out so far, so make sure that you catch up on those before moving forward with me. I understand that everything that I talk about may not resonate with you, and that's a-okay, but make sure that if you're going to use me as a spiritual channel, as a spiritual guide, and as a mirror, that you are trying to follow along with chronological order, because I really am a person that believes in things like coming together and making more sense when you kind of follow the flow of it all. So, you know, as we get into more astrology, as we get into possibly, you know, videos with the upcoming eclipses, as we just kind of unpack 2025 as a calendar year, I hope that some of the messages that I've already recorded really start making sense to you as I unpack what we are supposed to be gaining and working through spiritually with 2025, whether that is the 6 months that have already happened or the 4 months that remain. We literally are ending our summer season, so we have a whole nother season to live in, right? And I'm actually really excited about the fall season. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that fall is my favorite season, and it's actually where a lot of my astrological placements are in my birth chart. So fall is always like an exciting time for me. Usually, in general, the fall season is about full circle moments, manifestations. It's a harvest time. So whatever has happened in the course of the year, you really get to see beautiful results from things that, I guess, seeds that you planted in the spring, intentions that you set in the spring. And also you can see things unfold from previous timelines as well. So I really love the fall season. And we have a lot to unpack now and during fall, okay? What I want to really talk about today is something a little different. I usually don't get into animal spirits and totems and, you know, the Chinese zodiac and stuff like that, because that's not really something that I study. However, I do find those things interesting. And let me rewind that, because I said I don't study animal totems. I 100% do study animal totems. That is one of the ways my ancestors communicate with me, and you know, that's one of the ways that I receive some of the most powerful messages and direction from spirit is through animals. Point being is that I'm just not someone who studies like Chinese zodiacs and stuff like that. I wanted to talk about this year's animal totem, but from my perspective and my studies and relationship with this animal totem. Did you know that 2025 is the year of the snake? Okay, so I found that super interesting, and I actually looked it up at the beginning of this year. I was like, oh, okay, it's the year of the snake. Like, what does that mean? I read an article on, you know, the Chinese zodiac sign of the snake, and basically the way the Chinese zodiac works is that the year you're born, you're assigned like an animal, right? My animal is a fire ox, okay? Yeah, so basically, you know, some tea on me, it means like I'm very powerful and I am very strong, but things are gonna come to me with time. You know, it's gonna take a lot of time for me to get results and for me to really, I guess, like do the work that I'm supposed to do, because like I'm pulling a lot of weight, you know, like energetically, spiritually, it's like I have a lot of responsibility and weight on me. So it kind of makes me slow. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like slow and steady wins the race. You know, that story where the tortoise and the hare, and the turtle or the tortoise ends up winning the race because they just were consistent, versus the rabbit, they burnt out because they were quick and they were doing all the things, but then when they got tired, they didn't know what to do at that point, right? And so, you know, I thought that was just so interesting, because like I definitely get frustrated with my journey, because I'm like, I know I have what it takes to do this and that and be successful and be abundant, and why aren't the results coming? And it's like, I just have to trust my process and stay consistent. And that's just like a life journey for me. So if you are a fire ox, leave a note, or, you know, say hi to me in the comments. But let's talk about the year of the snake. So for me, I have a special relationship with snakes and reptilian totems. You know, I got a reading years ago from a Ocean priestess, and she was talking to me a lot about snakes and how snakes are important to me and da 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 da, right? And a lot of times snakes have come up in my dreams, and I've had visions of snakes, and I've never really encountered snakes in real life, like live animals, outside of maybe just like a garden snake here or there. But it's never really been something that's like approached me. But I've definitely had like visions or spiritual encounters with this energy and this totem, right? Basically, long story short, the snake is one of my primary totems. So a lot of times the snake gets a really, really bad rep in pop culture and even in some spiritual spaces. And I think really that comes from just like Western religions and Christianity demonizing this entity and this spirit and this animal as a representation of the devil or trickery, sorcery, and evil, right? When really the snake represents rebirth, healing, renewal, intensity, and it also can represent like challenging processes, right? And one of the most important things about snakes is their shedding ability, their ability to rebirth or refresh or regenerate themselves. The snake is actually a symbol of the healer. Okay, so if somebody is a healer, how they gonna be evil? How they gonna be demonic if they're the healer? Snakes are very powerful creatures. Like I said, if you see a snake, especially one that is a significant size, it's probably gonna strike some fear into your heart and into your spirit, okay? But the fear, the intensity that you may feel with that imaging, right, is really a sign of protection, right? It's also a warning. You know, it's kind of like, don't with me, okay? Like, hold up, do you really want this smoke? When we come into spirituality, we expect everything we encounter, all the symbols, all the tools, and the different systems that we have in these spaces to be all love and light, not realizing that some of the things that are the most healing, the most powerful, that will give you your biggest breakthrough, also have dark elements, also have protective elements, also have intense, dangerous, potent energies. Okay? So the snake as a totem, as a spirit animal, is not for everybody. When I think about the snake energy and the totem and the spirit of the snake, right? It really gives me this message that you can come back from anything. You can always reinvent yourself, but it just may come with a difficult process. It may come with a shedding process, just because there is that power, that regenerative power, just because there's that transformative alchemy, and magic that the snake has. It doesn't mean that it doesn't come with a price. It doesn't mean that there's no sacrifice to tap into those abilities, right? So another con with this energy would be just holding on to things too tight and being overly protective. I don't believe all snakes do the little, I think it's called like constricting themselves. I don't think all snakes do that, but a lot of snakes constrict their prey and use that as like a defense mechanism or a way to protect themselves, right? But when we think about this energy of kind of closing yourself off or holding on to things so tight as a protective or defense mechanism, right? That actually is one of the most harmful things about this energy. And believe me, okay, I know firsthand being able to let go is really hard, If you have Scorpio placements, if you have sidereal Scorpio placements, talk to me about how hard it is for you to let people and situations go, okay? Because this can definitely turn into holding grudges against people. Sometimes we can get into this space with this energy of thinking that something is holding us back and, oh, blah, 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 when really it's just you that doesn't want to let go. You're holding on to a grudge. You're holding on to a situation. You're holding on to an event that no longer serves you. And as soon as you unconstrict, you have so much more freedom. So what I really want to use this energy and this totem to talk about is what this means for the 2025 calendar year. I think this is so perfect because even though I don't think Chinese astrology uses the zodiac signs like, Pisces, Aries, I think they truly have their own system, but I think it's really, really unique how this energy and this totem of the snake matches up so perfectly with the dominance of water that we have in the year 2025. It's really important that you know Saturn is in Pisces for the next 2 to 3 years. So at the end of the day, everything right now comes down to the energetic and the emotional quality of your experience with people and places. If the energy is not right, if emotionally you are not feeling right about something, that's the most important thing in aligning yourself with what's best and what's right for you in 2025 and moving forward. With this energy and this totem of the snake guiding us through the 2025 experience. What this is really telling me is that 2025 is a year of shedding. There's some things that, in order for you to continue upward mobility, in order for you to stay aligned with your highest timeline and your greatest potential, okay, you're gonna have to let some things go. Whatever you're holding on to that is not serving you, it's time to shed that dead skin and that dead weight, or you actually may die. You actually, when I say die, I mean spiritually. You actually may become disconnected from source. You may become misaligned with your purpose, with your soul family and tribe. And so it's really, really important not to let those things hold us back. Just like I mentioned, where the snake, one of the cons of this energy and this spirit, is holding on to things too tight and even developing strong grudges towards people and situations. And how I said that once that energy is released, once that grudge is let go, there's an immense breakthrough that happens for this energy, for this animal, right? And so that is what the snake is showing us and telling us about 2025. It says that if you just let go, if you just go through that reinvention process, if you go through that rebirthing process, if you go through that shedding process, right, you will be renewed. You will have your biggest breakthrough yet. That magic, that alchemy is gonna come with a sacrifice and a price. Okay? I'm coming to you with this message because you may be more than halfway through 2025 and you may be having some rough points this year. You may be having some struggles this year. You may not be getting the results or the breakthroughs that you feel you need and deserve this year. But I'm here to tell you, it's because you're not embodying this energy. It's because you're not shedding the things that you need to shed to be in alignment with this higher version of yourself, with this next level of yourself, with the soul family, the soul tribe that you're supposed to be aligned with. So if you are struggling with something this year, if you are struggling with something this year, this video is dedicated to you. If you feel stagnant still in August of 2025, this video is especially for you, because your breakthrough is literally just a few moments away from you deciding to shed and let go of what's not serving you. These are things that I had to do for myself early this year. And as I've talked about many times, being offline, being off the internet was one of the key things to helping me be able to embody and do these things. One of the biggest things that I had to face this year was the shedding of fear. Fear is one of the number one things that holds a lot of us back from living the life that we truly, truly love and deserve and desire. Fear is the biggest thing that holds us back from manifesting our dream life and walking into that timeline that we've always imagined. I'm not sure if fear is maybe your biggest problem this year, but I just want to give you an encouraging message that you can break through and shed all those things that are holding you back, person, place, or thing. Because for me, I started off this year so angry, and I truly had to look at myself and say, what am I going to do about it? What do I need to change up or let go of? Dense, dark, deep emotions, such as anger, are really signals telling you that something needs to change. If you guys want to hear more about this conversation, I would highly recommend checking out my Tumblr page at The Magic Mirror, where I just released a article, long article essay about Saturn and Pisces, introducing this energy to you, giving you a toolkit for things to watch and things that you can capitalize on during this transit over the next 2.5 years. Without further ado, I want to get into a reading, because we're gonna do another reading. Okay, I know y'all miss readings. Okay, I miss readings too. But a lot of times, my spirits be like, girl, you don't need them cards, but they know that I like the cards. They know that I like to also get their input as well, because sometimes the cards do have additional messages that I'm not always going to pick up on, Let's get into a message about what you should be shedding in 2025, okay? If you're still struggling, woo! Alright, so we got some cards. If you're still struggling at this point, because y'all got to realize we got to come up on another eclipse season, okay? And this is a very important message that I have on my X account, okay? All the astrology, I can sit here and break down every astrological event. As you guys can see, I haven't even done that once, on video so far. I do have a couple written breakdowns that you can find, like I said, on Tumblr and X. But, I can sit here all day long and break down, every astrology event possible. The point that I want you to realize in 2025 is that if you are not embodying the changes and the work that needs to be done, if you are out of alignment, every eclipse, every retrograde, every new moon, and every full moon, and every other event that you want to talk about in astrology is going to reflect that back to you. It's going to reflect the changes you need to make. It's going to reflect the misalignment that you have going on in your body and in your spirit and in your mind. Okay? The universe is going to mirror back to you what you're not doing and what you need to do more of. This year, it's been a powerful year for me because I've been able to make some big accomplishments. I removed some of the fear that I had when I faced some of those fears up front. And when I locked in to myself and said, okay, let's get serious. Let's get real about some of these things that we want to do and accomplish and achieve, right? I made huge breakthroughs this year, but it involved a shedding process. It involved something being sacrificed for the bigger picture and the next level. As soon as I shuffled this Chalky Congo deck, 2 cards jumped out. Okay, here's Chalky Congo. For those who are interested, the second edition. So the first card that jumped out is Birth, okay? Birth. Now I'm going to have to look into this card because the question that we're doing this reading on is, what do we need to shed in 2025? Okay, what do we need to shed? If somebody is still stuck, if somebody is still stagnant, if somebody is lost, if somebody doesn't know what they need to be doing, what do you need to shed to get there? All right, so I'm going to look into that Birth card. But the second card that we have is Unravel, which is perfect because we're talking about shedding. So obviously Spirit is saying, yes, undo it, roll it off, take it off, right? So let's get a little bit of clarity on those, because I don't really think, that's not that self-explanatory. You can't shed birth. You can unravel though. So let's get a message on birth. I'm flipping through this deck. Every day we are in a constant stage of birthing. We give life to ideas, behaviors, thought patterns, and beliefs. As with all cycles, there are different stages of the birthing process. It's important for us to be able to discern between those different stages. As the saying goes, picking the fruit before it's ripe will spoil the sweetness. Cultivating ripe harvests take time, energy, and commitment. Labor through. Okay? So it says now is the time to stop sitting on your ideas, aspirations, goals, and do the necessary work to bring them to life. Expect simultaneous closing and open of doors. Sacrifice is no stranger to the birthing process. Things will die to make way for what's new. Don't resist, okay? So what Spirit is telling me off the bat with this birth card here, Spirit is saying the first thing you're going to have to let go is laziness. What's coming through is self-sabotage. Some of us kill off our dreams and ideas before we even try. Like you didn't even try, and then even if you did try, you didn't try long enough. I just told you guys what my Chinese zodiac sign animal is, right? I told you guys I'm a fire ox in Chinese astrology, right? And I told you guys about being frustrated with things taking so long to come together in my life, me feeling like I don't get what I deserve. But the whole point is for me to be consistent and for me to keep showing up, because when I do get what I deserve, it's going to be so much, because I deserve a lot. That's the whole point. Okay? So imagine if you give up on yourself before you even really get enough momentum, before you even get to the point where people are taking you seriously. Imagine you give up before you even reach the threshold of your purpose and of your gifts and so many other things, right? The first thing in 2025, if you haven't done it already, you need to let go of laziness, self-sabotage, and just the resistance that you may have towards doing things differently, and not wanting to let go of things that you know you must change. Unraveling is about shedding. All right, so it says often we must go back to move forward, reflecting on past experiences with the intent to understand its effect on our psyche and behaviors is vital to our spiritual, emotional, and mental growth. Sifting through childhood wounds and unearthing family and generational traumas are no easy task. Be patient with yourself, be accepting of yourself, and be honest with yourself. Don't avoid doing the shadow work. Unravel yourself so you can continue to create your energetic footprint with clarity. Rectifications are due. Be prepared to apologize, accept an apology, or both. Your healing is your responsibility, not anyone else's. Do not use your shadow as crutches or allow them to disable you. Work through them to work above them and put them Johns to work. Okay, so what this card is really talking to me about in this moment, with the question that I asked, what do we need to shed in 2025? We need to shed childhood trauma, okay? This year, 2025, is a perfect year to work with your inner child and heal wounds that are maybe stuck in your inner child. you can finally remove the thorns out of your inner child this year. If you really tap into that energy of your inner child and do the work actively. You know, a lot of inner child work revolves around joy, you know, doing things that truly light you up and make you happy. I have to say 2025 is really, this is the first year that I remember I can truly say like I have smiled so much this year. Like I feel like I haven't smiled this much in a long time, right? And it's like I find myself around people who just make me smile and light up. And I find myself doing things that make me smile and light up. And it's not forced, it's just natural, right? And so that lets me know my inner child is shining. My inner child doesn't have to hide, and I don't have to protect them as hard because they are safe. And when my inner child smiles through myself, I know that I'm safe. I know that the people around me are safe people. And so that allows me to heal because I don't have to, you know, I don't have to guard myself so hard and so heavy, right? And so already we've got two medicines, okay? Release your laziness, okay? Stop self-sabotaging, okay? This card says birth. It is a command, okay? So that means, and I've been talking about rebirthing for a while, and there's even an article on my Tumblr page where I say at some point the baby's got to come out, okay? So imagine spiritually, now don't take this literally, imagine spiritually you are pregnant with ideas, you're pregnant with your biggest breakthrough, you're pregnant with your biggest manifestation yet, and you aborting your ideas, you aborting the manifestation, you're aborting all these blessings that unfortunately Spirit is saying it's time to push it out. I know it might be painful to push it out because when you push it out, you're going to be pushing out a lot of childhood trauma. You're going to be pushing out a lot of doubt and insecurity. You're also going to be pushing out a lot of fear. But guess what? That is exactly what you need to do. On my recent article, I just said that you're going to do in 2025 and moving forward, you're going to release, you're going to heal, and you're going to create all at the same time. Sometimes in spirituality, we think that we have to do one at a time. Spirit is saying right now, I understand that may have worked in the past, but right now, we've got to be multifaceted. We've got to work through the trauma and create. We've got to work through the trauma and heal. We have to create and do the shadow work and do the reflection and do the inner child work because it's all going to balance out and blend together simultaneously. No longer are these things a one-by-one, step-by-step, singular process. Because why? Because you're on a different level now in your journey. You're not at the beginning stages. And if you're watching this and you feel that you are, that's okay. But really, I'm channeling these messages moving forward for people who have an idea of what they're supposed to do in this life and how they're supposed to show up for themselves and other people. And, you know, people who at least have a clue, all right, who are just not totally clueless. I'm channeling this message for people who know they have gifts and talents and who have just a remote idea of how they can use them. That's who I'm channeling this message for. I'm channeling these messages moving forward for people who are ready, for people who've already started doing the work. And maybe they just keep getting tripped up on a few things. Maybe they have reached that stagnancy, or they do have a block in their road, and they're wondering, how do I open it again? Right? That's who I'm channeling the message for, because I think too that sometimes, you know, a lot of spiritual people, they channel the same messages to the same people. And, you know, sometimes we just have to realize that some people don't want to do better. Some people just, they don't want to do better. They just want to, you know, hang around people who do want to do better, and they want to pose as if, you know, they are all about growth and alignment, when really they're just soaking up other people's energy who are really about that life, right? And so if you're about that life and you're serious about making changes, getting to your next level, manifesting your dream life, Spirit says, stop self-sabotaging, push out the things that you know are your gifts, talents, and your purpose. Push it out. I know there's going to be some pain in that process. I know there's going to be some fear in that process. Do it anyway. Stop being lazy and get to work. In that process of birthing, you're going to have to unpack some things. But like I just gave you that message, that's all part of the plan. It's a part of the plan for you to have to unravel and undo and shed. You're going to do all of that simultaneously moving forward. Okay, so let's see what else we have to shed. I have 6 decks, so I hope this video doesn't get too long, but let's see what the next thing that we need to shed in 2025. Like I mentioned, eclipse season is approaching. This will be our final eclipse of this will be our final eclipses of 2025. So hopefully I'm not too busy and I'll be able to cover that. These cards, just like, there's so many cards jumping out. Like, I don't know which card it is. All right, so I'm just gonna pull an additional clarifying card. Okay, so I have my playing cards. Y'all know I love playing cards. If you're new here and you don't, the playing cards were my first like modality of reading and communicating with spirits. Let's get into the next thing that we need to shed. The first card I have is the 10 of Clubs. The 10 of Clubs talks about depression. It talks about kind of overwhelming anxiety, just like these dark, dense emotions. They gotta go, and you gotta figure out how to let them go. Okay, again, referencing this great article that I typed up on Tumblr, I talked about how being creative and finding out what is a way that you can channel your energy or transform your energy into something else, that is the way that you're going to alchemize some of that depression, some of that anxiety, some of these dark, dense emotions that may be coming up. And you're wondering, oh, where did that come from? Well, Saturn's in Pisces, baby. So a lot of things is fixing to come up. Okay. Some other things that this 10 of Clubs can show, other than depression and anxiety, is just like a level of stress that we can kind of take on or create when we're just doing too much, and we may even be misaligned because we're doing so much. And so there's a message here of you don't have to do so much when you are aligned with the things that you're truly supposed to be doing, you know? And so it's a message here as far as what do we need to shed in 2025. We need to shed, of course, depression, anxiety, dense, heavy emotions. We need to transmute those things into something that can help us fulfill a greater, higher calling and purpose. However, we also need to shed things that make us a busybody, things that have us burnt out and tired and doing the most, and we're not really getting much from it, okay? We want to be more calculated moving forward. You know, we don't want to just waste our energy. Spirit is saying, shed the need to waste your energy and burn yourself out and be a busybody for no reason. What is the results? Is it worth it? Okay, whatever those things are that may be making you feel stressed, tied down, anxious, depressed, overwhelmed, is it worth it? You know, or are you just filling up your life and your time with things that are not really serving you or aligned with you? The next card we have, because I did pull two, is the Queen of Diamonds. And the Queen of Diamonds gives a very strong message about knowing your worth. Okay, so with this card here, I already talked about, you know, making sure that things that you put your time and energy and effort into is worth the outcome. But also, it's time for you to shed things that make you doubt yourself, things that make you feel like you are not worthy of whatever it is that you want. You have to shed things that bring out the insecurity and the darkness and the doubt. Okay? And if you want to know how to do that, I highly recommend watching How to Indicate Insecurity and Stop Projections in Their Tracks. Okay? That is one of the first videos I put out. What I mainly talked about in that video is that a lot of times when we surround ourselves with the wrong people, right, we can kind of take on traits that we don't like. And then when we get around people who embody things that we feel we want to do, we start becoming a hater. We start, you know, over critiquing people and talking about people, and we become a gossip, all because we don't recognize the areas that we need to step up. We don't recognize the things that we need to shed within ourselves to be who we really are supposed to be, and to not just be comfortable. I am still going to look into the Queen of Diamonds because I have my own key for how to read playing cards that maybe one day I'll drop it. I don't know. But yeah, so the Queen of Diamonds, yeah, honestly, that is all I'm getting, is we need to shed things that detract from us knowing our worth, whether that is a people, place, or thing. You know, if something is making you feel like you're less than what you are, cut that thing or person out, okay? Because all it takes is a little bit of wallowing in that wrong energy for it to sink in and become a program that you start operating on. All right, so let me see what else we need to shed. Okay, so far we got 4 cards. So right now I'm shuffling from my Prism Oracle deck. This is one of my favorites because it's just so simple. So simple. All right, so let me do one more good shuffle. Spirit is saying pull from the top. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, so let's see what we got. Woo, honey. Do y'all see this? Okay. And it matches my outfit. Okay, so we need to shed frustration. All right, so guys, I started off, like I told you guys earlier in this video, I started off this year being so genuinely mad. Like, I was mad with myself. I was mad with people in my life. I was mad with my job that I was working. You know, I was mad with some family members, okay? I was mad. And I had to get to the bottom of that anger, okay? Like I talk about with the 10 of diamonds, what are those deep, dense, dark emotions really about? What is at the root of that? And what was at the root of this frustration was everything that I wanted to change. The only way that you can release or shed the frustration or the frustrations that are resurfacing or, you know, that keep coming up or that are happening to you in 2025 is to get to the root of why that is even a point of anger for you. And then to decide, how am I going to change this thing? What am I going to do about it? That's how you shed frustration, okay? It's very simple. It's very self-explanatory, okay? How are you going to shed things that frustrate you? What are you going to change in your life to remove things that frustrate you? Because that is a part of you tapping into your power and for you to maintain your next level. Because some of us, we're already on the next level, okay? So how are you going to stay in that energy if you keep getting taken out of it because you mad at these different people, you mad at these different places? At a certain point, there has to be an evaluation. So now I'm on to another deck that I love because every single message in this deck is always so positive. It is the Healing Spirits Oracle. And so let's go ahead and get a message from here. Now this one here, even though it's going to be super positive, I'm asking Spirit, what do we need to shed in 2025? Okay, so I am going to interpret it a little bit differently than what is being shown on the card. Okay, so here we go. The message says, one spirit guide, one way. Now this is interesting because I've never gotten this card before. I hope it's pretty clear. So one spirit guide, one way. What I'm getting from this is we need to shed the idea that there's only one way to do it and there's only a one guide or one, like, there's only one thing that's helping us to get where we need to get. You know, we need to realize that there's multiple resources that we can tap into, and there's multiple ways that we can reach the point and the level that we need to get to, right? I'm still going to pop into this, okay? This description. So it says, clear your mind of all conflicting knowledge and trust the path that you have chosen, and soon you'll be moving toward more spiritual practices. This is the time for you to trust your spirit to get you to the next level of your life. You have put in a lot of hard work, but once you have turned the next corner, your path will open up and your way will be clear. So trust yourself and trust your spirit guide now. So like I said, initially I did get this message about being more open, you know, realizing that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Channel message for this card, there's more than one way to do something, and we need to release the blocks that we have around what's possible and, you know, what is a sign, and because, you know, sometimes we're always looking for a sign, we're always looking for guidance, and sometimes that hinders us from being able to move forward and trust ourselves when we don't realize that, as I stated earlier, the universe, the world, and your experience is going to ultimately mirror back to you your success. It's going to confirm your success to you, and it will also deny you things that are out of alignment with you, and that's going to constantly be reflected back to you. So it's not one thing that's constantly guiding you. It's not one spirit. It's not one person. It's your entire experience is leading you to your highest calling and your highest purpose. Okay, I am down to my last card. Okay, so I am now going in with my swatches of chakra decks. And just FYI, I have been using a lot of these decks for years. So they do have a lot of potent energy packed into them, because I've been filming myself doing collective readings for a while now. Let's see what this final card has to offer us as far as what we should be shedding in 2025 to align with the energy of rebirth, to align with the energy of reinventing ourselves, to align with alchemy and transformation and powerful breakthroughs and releases that the snake totem wants us to have. All right, so I'm flipping this right over, and I got a solar plexus card. Okay, so the solar plexus card says that we need to shed indecision. Okay, the card literally says, I don't know if you can see that, the card says decisions. Okay, so like I said, what this is telling me is that spirit really wants a lot of us to shed confusion, shed this indecisive nature that says, I don't know what to do, to shed self-doubt. That's what this is about. Okay, trusting yourself, getting a better relationship with self-trust is such a big deal for 2025, guys. So let me read this description and then I will close this video out. It says, life is a series of decisions, big and small, that shape our destiny. This encourages you to pause, reflect, and consider your options carefully. You could be at a crossroads in life where a decision must be made. It could be related to a multitude of things. Take time to assess your options and the potential consequences. Remember, every decision comes with a responsibility, and the best decisions are made with a clear head and having a strong sense of self. While it's essential to analyze your options, don't discount your intuition, which can guide you towards the right choice. Embrace this energy as a reminder of your power and the power to shape your destiny through your own choices. And then they do provide an affirmation here, right here. I don't know if you can see that, which says, I trust in my ability to make the best decision for myself. Okay, so, I already said that. The cards are just confirmation of what I already said. Okay, you're gonna have to eventually stop pulling the cards, booking the readings, watching YouTube tarot. Okay, because I know y'all eat it up. Sometimes you're gonna have to just make the decision and learn how to strengthen that intuitive muscle that you have in order to shed self-doubt, in order to shed insecurity, in order to shed all the things that we've already talked about. Shedding frustration, shedding dark dense, depressive, overwhelming emotions. Shedding people and places that don't reflect your self-worth back to you. Shedding childhood trauma. Shedding self-sabotage. Shedding laziness. You're going to have to make a clear decision eventually to be able to remove those things in the first place. So I hope this was a powerful read, and I hope this gives you a boost of motivation and energy, because we're right on the brink of our final eclipse season of 2025, and this information should help you into shifting and utilizing that energy as best as possible. We also just ended a Mercury retrograde, so hopefully I'll be back to give you guys some astrology, but stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed to me and following me where it fits, and I'll see you soon.